So give me for more, give me meat on top. I want this your love, oh. Say for instance, I do anything for love, anything I love. You feeling this or not? Make I know what's up, oh. I go take flight, and I will fly to you. I should dey waste time. I feel they run to you. Oh. I go take flight, and I go fly to you. I should dey waste time. I feel they run to you. Oh. Something love. Oh, girl, you got me wanting more. I can't get enough of your something love. Oh, girl.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's session of the Power BI Extravaganza Marathon. This is the week 2 of the session, and today's topic is demystifying Power Query. My name is Sylvia. Where are you joining us from? You can drop the message in the chat. Your name and where I want to meet you. Your name and where you're joining us from. From last week's session, we had introduction to Power BI, where we had Mr. Fizz take us through what we can do with Power BI, what we can achieve with Power BI, and how to install Power BI. I hope we have all installed Power BI because today's session promised to be very, very exciting and practical. Today, we are diving into Power Query. And one advice I have for us is this session, don't just come to this session. Make sure you practice. Don't just come on Saturdays to listen. Practice every day. Consistency, that's what will help you to improve on your skill on Power BI. Today's topic is demystifying Power Query. Like I've said, please drop your info on this chat box. I want to meet everybody. Your name, where you are. Oh, I can see Adewale from Ibadan and Tola from Ibadan. Nice to meet you. You can drop your info on the chat box. Meet our organizers and the host of this event is the Nigeria Power Platform, Oyo State User Group. Last week we were supposed to have Mr. Adewale take us through the timelines. Okay, today we'll have Mr. Adewale Yusuf. He's the Microsoft data. Okay, my slide is not moving. I'm coming. Please give me a moment. The host for this event is the Nigeria Power Platform Oyo State User Group. Last week, we were supposed to have Mr. Adewale take us through the timeline. So Mr. Adewale is here today. He will take us through the timeline. Hello, Mr. Adewale, can you hear me?
I think your slide is moving now. It wasn't moving before. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Adewale is a Microsoft Data Platform MVP, a Microsoft certified trainer, a team lead business analyst at the Brown Consulting, and he's also a Microsoft certified data analyst. Please, Mr. Adewale, can you take us through the timeline? Let's welcome Mr. Adewale.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon from wherever we join from. Please remember to put your name and the way you're from in chat as a Sylvia instructor so I can know where all of us join from. So thank you for joining this session. So this session is a session we put together to make sure that we're able to kind of train everybody on how to use Power BI and how to master the use of Power BI. So we've targeted the Power BI Extravaganza Marathon. So this session include the introduction we had last week. Then today we're also going to have the Power Query this week. Next week we're going to have data model. Then upper week we're going to have DAX. Then after DAX we're going to have Power BI service. And the last session is going to kind of be visualizations, and we're going to talk about capstone project. So if you have been joining this program from the beginning of the timelines, at the end of this program, we're going to organize a capstone project where all of us will come together in a meeting. We're going to give you a data that all of us are going to work on, and there's a price, all right? In fact, let me keep that. I'm going to keep what that price is, but make sure you stay through the end. So there's a price at the end on whatever I got the capstone project nicely, and you're able to create something nice with your capstone project. So that's just it from me. Make sure you join to the end, and each session is always recorded, so you have it on our YouTube channel. Thank you so much for having me, Sylvia.
Thank you, Mr. Adewale. Like I said, today's topic is demystifying Power Query. I mean, we did the introduction last week. So Power Query is like doing your data cleaning. It's a very essential stage in your analytical journey. In fact, every stage of this marathon is a very important stage in your analytics and data analytics journey. Meet the moderator, my humble self. My name is Sylvia Oku. I'm a dedicated data analyst with a strong background in statistics. My expertise includes Power BI, Excel, Python, and SQL, which allows me to extract insights from complex data sets. I actively contribute to communities. Like apart from this community, I'm volunteering today. I actively volunteer for communities like AI Saturdays and She Codes Africa. Sylvia is poised to excel in the field of data analytics while promoting diversity and inclusion in the tech industry. So our speaker for today, our fine lady, our beautiful lady, Iremide Olatunji. She's a skilled data analyst with 3 years of industry experience in automating, restructuring reports and dashboards using analytical tools such as SQL, Power BI, Excel, and Google Sheets. She has bagged a lot of global certificates as a data analyst, among which are Microsoft Certified Data Analyst Associate, HackerRank SQL certificate, Apache Airflow fundamentals. She's passionate about helping people gain mastery in data analytics. She believes experience plus tech skill is equals to relevance. She's currently prioritizing the need to upskill from data analytics to cloud engineering, and she's intentional about working on projects that requires the need to build a data pipeline using Apache Airflow, Python, and NoSQL databases. She's excited to learn and collaborate with everyone who is interested in executing data projects. So, I mean, if you are excited in executing data projects, you can also meet our speaker, Iremide Olatunji, as she's willing to collaborate with you. Miss Iremide, are you here? You're here with us.
Yes, I am here. Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. You have the floor now.
All right. Thank you so much, Sylvia, for that wonderful introduction. I hope that we'll continue talking, after this session. And to Mr. Dewale, I want to say a very big thank you for the opportunity, Afis, and every organizer of the Oyo State, Power BI platform. Thank you so much for having me here. It's a pleasure to collaborate with everyone. And for those that are also learning Power BI is a very interesting tool and it's very fundamental in your data analytics journey. So we can get started, right?
Yes, we can get started.
All right. So before I proceed, I would like to know, I just want to hear from somebody what you learned last week from the introduction Hafiz did. Just one of the participants, you can unmute your mic and just give us an overview very quickly on what you learned last week so that we can get started.
Hello. Hello.
Hi,
Good afternoon.
good afternoon.
My name is Saladin Wakil Oladeji.
Okay.
last week, Mr. Afis Sakari Abubatunde walk us through uh, the interface of Power BI. So, how to the general introduction. He walk us through the general introduction to Power BI. So, how to load data into the Power BI, how to connect from different data source, etc. like that.
Very beautiful, very beautiful. All right, thank you so much. Sylvia, can you stop sharing your screen so I can share mine?
Yep, doing that now. Mm,
Is my screen up? Can someone confirm?
Yes.
Okay, yes, I cannot see I can't see my screen. So I'm opening up my Power BI interface from my laptop. I'm opening up Power BI and we will go into Power Query. So very briefly, what is Power Query? Right? Power Query is an interface in Power BI, not just in Power BI, it is also in Excel. So Power Query is a tool that once you are able to master it, you can use it both in Excel and also in Power BI. But most of the time, I use Power Query in Power BI more than in Excel. So Power Query is a platform inside Power BI. You see that I opened my Power BI and I navigated to transform data, and then it opened my Power Query editor. What is a Power Query editor? This interface is used to transform your data, right? Power BI is in such a way that it is garbage in, garbage out, meaning whatever data you feed into Power BI is what it produces for you. Power BI doesn't really have a power on its own to transform the data automatically, maybe with maybe what's the name of Copilot or something. No, you have to be the one to clean the data and ensure that whatever you are loading into Power BI is accurate, it is clean, it is free from errors, it is at least accurate to at least 90%, so that when you are doing your visualization, your chart, you are trying to make decision or make sense out of your data, you are able to get something very valuable. But once you feed into Power BI errors, whatever you are doing will definitely lead you to an error. So this is that interface where you come in and then you clean your data. There is a name we say Power BI enables us to do ETL, right? ETL means extract, load, and transform, right? And that is where I will start today. So I have two data on my desktop currently. I'll start with this Power BI workshop data, and I will load it into Power BI. So I'll come here. This is the user interface of Power Query. Once you see it, you have the new source, recent source, meaning that where is your data seated in, right? When you look here, we have SQL Server. If you click on more, that means you can bring in data from different applications, from the web, from a database, from Excel, from Power Platform, even from Microsoft Fabric. You can bring in your data, wherever your data is seated in, you can always bring it into Power Query or into Power BI. So for beginners, right, my data is in an Excel workbook, and I'll click on this Excel workbook and click on connect. So it takes me to my laptop interface or my desktop and asks me where is my data. So my data is on my desktop. I'm clicking my desktop. If it's in a folder, you click on the folder, but mine is on my desktop, and I'm starting with this Power BI workshop data. So I'll click on the data and I'll click on open, and then it loads into Power Query. Are you with me? Are you tracking with me? Can you hear me? Hope the network has not thrown me away.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, awesome. So now I have my data here in Power Query, and I have customer data, Once you click on it, you can preview what is there. I have my product data, right? I can preview whatever information is there. I have my regions data. So right now I am extracting, I'm bringing in data from my desktop into my Power Query editor. So I have my regions data. I have my region table 4. I have my sales data. I have my customer data, and I have my product data. So one thing I also encourage people to do is whatever data you don't need or you would not be using for any visualization or to make any decision, it is best not to load the data, because some people loading data and a lot of junks, things you don't need, you just put them inside Power Query, load them into Power BI, and then the performance of your Power BI kind of declines in such a way that it takes a longer time for your report to load, and then the thing just keep rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling. When I started newly in my career, I made that mistake too. I just loaded data, very heavy things I don't need, because I feel, maybe in the future they might need it. Well, they never needed it anyway. So I just loaded lots of data. And when it's time for me to refresh my data, I would just click refresh, go for lunch for like 1 hour, then come back. This thing is still loading. This thing is still rolling and trying to load and trying to, complete refresh. That was how large and how unnecessary the things I loaded into Power BI was. And that affected the performance of my report. So I'll only select things that I need. Here, I need my customer data. I will like my customer data. I need my product data. I need my region table. I need my sales data, and maybe my sales other data. That is all I need, just 5 of these. The other ones are not needed, so I don't even have to select them to load. So in Excel, you can even so these customer data, they are actually sheets in Excel. Do you understand? Sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3 that has been renamed. So you don't have to bring in all of the sheets if they are not necessary. Just select the things you are working with only. So right now I am extracting. Like I said, in Power Query, we use the term extract, transform, and load. Currently, I am on the E, trying to extract my data from Excel into Power Query editor. So once I've highlighted the data that I need, I'll select OK. All right, so I have my 5 data. I have my customer data. I have my customer index, customer name. I have my product data, index, and product name. I have my regions table here. I can see the index, sub-index, product, postcode, longitude, latitude, the full address. This is like a region table, giving me the address of each of my customers. I have my sales data. This is my fact table. I don't know if that was explained to you during the introduction. We have some things we call fact table, and we call another one dimension table. Fact table are tables that I just defined, that tables that have duplicate, right? All the information in your fact table are all duplicated, meaning they appear more than once, they appear multiple times. While in your dimension table, at least one of the column in your dimension table is only appearing once, meaning that the information there is not duplicated, right? And mostly it is your index or your key. Sometimes it is named index, sometimes it is named a key. And the key determines whether it's your primary key or your foreign key. When you're doing your modeling, you go deeply into all of that. But what I'm trying to say is my customer data here is a dimension table, right? Meaning that a customer can have 2 names. But one customer index cannot be assigned to 2 customers. So we can have Iremide Olatunji in Ibadan, and another person is also bearing Iremide Olatunji in Osun State, and another person is bearing Iremide Olatunji in Abuja. So when it comes to my index, Iremide Olatunji in Ibadan can be 001. Iremide Olatunji in Osun State can be 030. Iremide Olatunji in Abuja can be 0100. Do you understand? So we have different index or different keys, and that is the key that determines whether this table is a dimension table. It tells us whether the table is a dimension table or a fact table. So my customer data is a dimension table, my product data is a dimension table, my regions data is a dimension table, my sales data is a fact table, and my sales order data is a fact table. All right, so having extracted all my data there, if you look towards your right, you see something called applied steps, right? So in Power Query Editor, if I do anything here, so right now I'm trying to transform. I've moved from the E of the Power Query, from the extract, to now I want to transform my data. I want to make sure this data is clean. I want to see if I need to merge some tables together to make them one, if I need to maybe append, if I need to do any other thing, this is where I do all of that transformation. This is where all of the transformation happen. And this is the real purpose of Power Query, to transform your data, to clean your data, to make sure that whatever data you'll be loading, because the L part of the ETL is load, whatever data you'll be loading into Power BI is actually accurate. So like I said, if you look at this applied step, you can see I have my source. It's telling me this is the source of my data. The navigation was the one that I had to select, like the sheets that I needed in my Excel table. And now you can see change type. So it has done some transformation for us. Here we don't have Control Z. In Excel, if you're working with Excel and you made a mistake or you want to go back, you can, use the redo, undo icon on your ribbon, or you do Control Z. But here there is no redo, undo icon, and there is no Control Z. So it is that whatever I do here automatically is saved in my applied steps. So I can always cancel to go back, right? I can always cancel to go back. So right now, let's look at this customer data. I have my customer index. If you look at the data type here, it's telling me ABC123. So Power BI is telling me that I don't know if the information in this column is a number or is a text. So I have to now tell Power BI what it is. If I load this with this data type into Power BI, what it will be doing is this index will be showing sometimes as numbers and sometimes as text. So it will be confusing because you don't even know. It's like very confusing to know what exactly is it. Is it a number? Is it a text? Even for my name too, customer name is appearing as ABC123. So it can take either of these two data types at any given time. So you need to be able to specify and say, no, in Power Query, that is my transformation, meaning this column is a number. But before I can check whether it's a number, because in some organization, they have customer index. Some can be appearing with number, and you see some appearing with letters. Meaning for some company, you see 001 for a customer, and then you see ABC 002 CD. They just give different, index to different customers, different unique ID to different customers. So you need to check to make sure that all the information here is actually a number, or it has a mixture of a number and a text. So how do I do that? There is this drop down icon here. I'll click on that, and then just like you have your filter in Excel, when you click on your filter, you have this drop down icon whereby you can see all the information in your data without having to use the scroll bar. Right, so I just look very briefly and I can see that, okay, all the customer I have here, they are 50, and their customer ID is from 1 to 50. So it is safe for me to say this data type is a number. Are you tracking with me? Do you understand? Are you with me? Can someone just unmute and let me know if you're tracking with me?
Yes.
Awesome. So we have our customer names here, right? So the customer name is not showing the same thing. Is it a text or a number? We need to specify. So let's check. Let's see. We have 21, limited, 3. So this is a number and a text mixed together, right? But it is a name of a person. It's a name of a customer. So we look down and we see, so majority are text. So this also will take the data type of a text. Text and number will always take the data type of a text. So it is safe for us to name this a text, right? And then we can go on to our next table. So if you look at my ribbons here, we have different things we can do here. This was where I brought in my data using new source. I can also enter data manually. Once I click on this enter data, it asks me to, let's name it Power BI or your And then, I can now enter data manually to say, okay, student in Oyo Power BI class, and I can just enter their names. I have Iremide, I have Adewale, I can enter, but this is actually not advisable anyway. But if you have anything you feel that you want to enter, it's something small that you need, and then you actually need to put it in yourself, you don't have it anywhere, you can also put it in Power Query, like do it manually in just the way you write, put in data in Excel, right? You can just do that very quickly in Power Query, and then you click on OK, and then you also have it here to save among your list of tables. Right, so you have this enter data source setting. You can check the source of each of your data. For example, if I have my data on my desktop, if I open a folder and I put that data in a folder, automatically the source of my data will change from my desktop to my folder. But once I come into Power Query, it will show me an error, meaning that there's a change. So I have to come to my data source setting and then effect that change, and then come and say, no, this is no longer saved in my desktop. You can see here it's under Iremide desktop. So you can come here and then change the source to say, this is no longer saved in my desktop, it is now saved in a folder. So once you click on change source, it opens, it asks you to browse where it is, then it opens your desktop for you, or your desktop interface, and then you have to select the folder where where you had actually placed the data set. But for now, I'm still leaving it in my desktop. So hope you understand when you need to use the data source setting, or if you have a Power BI that was transferred to you, that was passed down to you, you want to know the source of each of the tables or each of the data in that Power BI. You have to come to the data source setting and then inspect the source of the data that is being imported, right? So we also have the preview refresh. You can refresh your data. I'm just going into what you as a beginner would need. Then we have remove columns, remove rows. So let me go to my customer data. We are just clean this data up by stating the data type. If I want to remove this particular column to say, I don't need the customer names, let me remove it, I'll come here under remove columns and click on remove columns, and you see that it has removed my customer name and I only have my customer index in this table. If it's a mistake, I'll be like, oh, okay, I made a mistake, I'm not supposed to remove that column. Like I said, there is no Ctrl Z here. You just come to your applied step and you click on this, just click on the X in front of whatever previous step that you've applied or whatever steps you want to go back in, just cancel it, and then it goes back to what you have before. More like will I call it versioning? I won't really say versioning, but then you can always go back to your previous step at any time that you want to. Okay, so now I also have remove rows. So if I want to remove, maybe I want to remove row 2, I can come here and say, okay, remove top rows, and it asks me what number of rows should I remove. Let me say remove 5 top rows, meaning remove from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Take them out for me. So once I do that, you see that my index is starting from 6, 7, 8. It has removed the 5 rows for me. Right, so there are times whereby when you load in your data, maybe there is an empty space in front, like there's an empty, you have like a blank space, like your first 3 rows are blank. You can just come to remove rows and then say remove the top 3 rows so that you have your data accurately. All right, so we also have these very interesting things called use first row as headers. Luckily for me, it has actually done that for me automatically. But there are times whereby use your index, this, let me go back, this your customer index and customer name will actually be on this on number 1. And then here you have colon 1, colon 2. But I wish, okay, let me go back. Let me go back to my data and let me just do that and reload into Power BI so that we understand what I'm trying to do. Let me put in some space so that I can use that let me insert blank rows. Sorry. I'm going to, please, are you tracking with me? Do you understand? And then let me save this. Let me save this and bring back my customer orders. So let me go to Power Query. So I'm going back to Power Query. I'm deleting this one. I'm deleting it. So by deleting it, I just right clicked and I'm clicking on delete. Delete. So let me go to my new source, Excel workbook. I'm bringing that same data, but this time around, I'm only loading the customer data, not the entire thing. So I only need the customer data right now. So once I load this, okay, still doing the same thing for me. I don't want it to do this for me so that I can properly explain. Let me copy this into another. Okay, I hope this will give me the error that I want. Let me name my sheet customer 2. Let me save and let me go back to my Power Query. I don't want it to show me. I don't want it to clean it for me automatically. So Power BI also has this artificial intelligence in Power Query that cleans your data for you. But it's also very good for you to know how to clean it yourself in case, it's not doing it for you automatically. You just know how to do it. So I said this as customer 2. Please don't do it for me. So all right, so I'm still having the same thing. So there are times whereby the first three, this thing I did, where is it? Sorry, just hold on. So there are times whereby when it loads into Power BI, it loads it with these empty 3 blank spaces, right? That's what I'm trying to show you. It loads with this empty, we have like empty 3 blank spaces up, and then you have, instead of customer index, you have this one as colon 1, colon 2, like that. So that is where you now have to use this first row. You have to first delete those 3 blank rows and then use this first row as headers to tell my Power BI that don't use colon 1, colon 2 for me as headers. This, my number 1, is actually my header. I can still do it here. Let me say, okay, let me rename this one. Let me use replace value. So replace 1 with customer ID. Customer ID. Customer ID. Why is it giving me? Customer ID. Why am I having? Enter a number value. Okay, because, hold on. Change type. Let me remove the change type. And let me replace value. Replace 1 as customer ID. Okay, I still have to put in. All right, I really wanted to show you how to actually do this by using your first role as headers. I hope maybe the second data I load maybe will give me the privilege to be able to show that to you.
Apologies, Erimide, for the interruption.
All right, that's fine.
Please, we can't see your screen. We are only seeing your face. You don't share your screen, so we don't.
But you say you can see my screen, no?
I can see your
from you
screen.
read one. I can see your screen.
Yeah, I
Probably
can see
that's
your
your
screen.
network.
All right, okay.
I can see your screen.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Then we can have, maybe you need to like leave and then rejoin again. Maybe it's your network. Okay, like I was saying, then let's move to the product table. Let's clean this up. Yeah, this is a number. This is automatically that's changed the type for me, like I said. But sometimes it would not do it. So you have to know how to do it yourself. So let's go to my region table, look at my data type, index, what's this? Suburb, postcode, longitude, latitude, full address. Okay, I have my full address here. So as like I said, whatever information you don't need, you don't have to load it into Power BI. For example, I don't think I will need this longitude and latitude. Like, I don't think I need any calculation that will make me use. Maybe you might do it if you are into geography, or maybe you want to measure landmark. I need all of this code. But when it comes to sales data, most of the time, we don't use longitude and latitude. So why do I have to load this into Power Query? So I need to like take this off and say, I don't need this. I think if I have my index, this one and my full address, I think I'm fine, right? So this postcode, longitude, latitude, I want to take them out. So what will I do? I can either come here and then remove colons one after the other to say, okay, remove colons, remove one, then remove colon, remove the second one, or remove colon, remove the third one. Well, that is like a very long distance. Or what I can just do is highlight the three of them, postcode, click on my control key, longitude, select longitude. I'm still clicking on my control key. I'm selecting latitude. Then I just say remove colon. So the three of them are being removed all at once. Right? And also, I can also, okay, there's something here called replace values. I think I'll be able to use that as we move on. Then I have my sales data, trying to make sure that everything is clean, looking at the data one after the other. So when it comes to clean, you have to just look at it colon after colon to make sure that they are right. I have my order number. So you can see my customer order number is showing with an alphabet and a number at the same time, unlike the one we have in my product that is showing me 1, 2, 3. Here I have order number showing me letters and numbers, right? So ideally, this one cannot be number. Even if I change it to number, whole number, it's asking me, okay, how does a new step? It will show me an error because it's starting with an alphabet. Whatever is starting with an alphabet means it's text, right? You can see automatically, I'm even trying to change it to number. It's telling me it's an error, meaning this is not allowed. You cannot do this. So it has to be a text. And I can see my date. I can either make it date or date time. If I select date time, I can have 12 a.m. I have everything 12 a.m. So I can just make it my date. But there's sometimes whereby from your database, you have unique times specified to each of these sales order. And then maybe you want to track the time this order was created and the time it was delivered. Do you understand? So the time is very important in that instance. But for this one, everything is just 12 midnight. And we know that nobody creates orders at 12 midnight. Business don't run at 12 midnight. So it's best to just put it as date, right? So I already changed. What did I change here? Okay. So I can just make sure it is a date. Check my ship date is a date, customer index, my channel, check everything colon after colon to make sure that they are all like everything is having the right product, the right data type. If you check here, we have number, we have this 1.2. What does this 1.2 mean? It means it's a decimal number. So if you check the unit price, you can see 24499.1. They all have decimals. So the one with decimals are decimal numbers. So decimal numbers, you put them as decimal, fixed decimal number. That is the one with a dollar sign. I can take my revenue and put it, it's an income. So I can put it, make it a fixed. I'm telling you that something has to do with monetary value. Do you know, it's not just a decimal, but it's a decimal with monetary value. Right? And then I have my own number, I have my percentage, I have date time, I have date, I have time, I have date time, time zone, I have duration, I have text, I have true or false, I have binary and others. You can just click on this to explore other data type that you might, but basically what you'll be needing are the ones that have been selected, that have been highlighted here. These are what you'll be using most of the time, right? So moving on, when you come to this is like basically what you did in your own ribbon, right? So I can split my screen, I can replace values. Let me try to replace a value here. So let me replace this wholesaler to something, maybe manufacturer. So when I click on, let me go back again. I'll click on my channel and I'll click on replace value. Once I click on replace value, it's asking me value to find. Meaning once I look inside this channel column, what value should I find? Find wholesale. So I'll type in find wholesale. Now, when you see wholesale, replace wholesale with manufacturer, right? And I click on OK. Automatically, if I click on this, everything that is wholesale, let me load more. I will not find wholesale here again. The only thing I'll find here is manufacturer, distributor, and export. Do you understand? That's how you use your replace value. For example, maybe you are bringing in a number value and then it's coming in with null. Let me see if I have anything null here. If you have maybe a number coming in as null, meaning the number was not entered, you can replace that null with a 0. So that when you are doing your mathematical calculation, everything is fine, because null is more like a text, you understand? So that you don't have any errors while you are trying to maybe sum up that particular quantity or unit price. So you might just check, do I have any null value here, or anything that is not a number that I can just quickly adjust? So that is how you use your replace values. I've explained first rule as headers. So when I click on this column, it's telling me the data type is a decimal number. I can also click here and also change the data type. But then we also have merge and append. I will do this in the, or I have two Excel sheets I'll be working with. So I'll use this merge and append in the second one. Now let's move to the transform ribbon. So I've explained the most important things you'll be using in your home ribbon. Let's move to the transform ribbon. Under the transform, you can do a lot of things. Mostly what I do here is pivot and unpivot, meaning I have an information as a column and I want to turn it to a row, or I have information as a row and I want to turn it to a pivot. I want to just like change the direction of my data. So mostly in this transform page, what I mostly use here is pivot, unpivot colons, and pivot colon. You also have a replace value here, but I mostly use my replace value in my own screen. I will also, if time permits, I might show you this pivot and unpivot. If not, I might refer you to materials where you can get more information about that. So let's move to add columns. So add columns, I'll also show you these add columns very shortly, but not at the moment. So I can add in a custom colon. I can bring in colon from example. I can write a conditional colon, but I still want to do some transformation before I proceed with that colon. So I'll come back here. So mostly what I use here is this colon from example, custom colon, mostly this general, everything in this general. I really don't use anything here for my transformation. Then this is the most important part for me in Power Query, right? Where I can see my data preview, colon quality. This one tells me everything in my data that I cannot see. If you can look at my screen, you can see we can only see information from 1 to 35. And I have data that is larger than 35 once I scroll down. So how do I know if everything in the columns, in the rows I cannot see, everything is intact, everything is valid, there is no error, there is no empty? That is where my column quality comes into play. So at a glance, I can see that everything in my order number 100% is valid. I don't have any error. I don't have any empty. So it just gives me this overview of the data I want to load. So before I load, I have to check the column quality to make sure that everything I am loading, everything is actually valid. Wherever I have an error, let me make this one an error. So let's make this a whole number. And let's see what happens. So you see, automatically my column quality is telling me everything here is not valid. I have 100% error. So it gives me this idea of go and check what is in this column. Either you go back to the data source or you check whatever transformation you have done here. Meaning whatever I'm loading here, everything in this column is a error. So it's warning me ahead. Say once you load this into Power BI, you are definitely going to work with incorrect data, inaccurate data, errors, right? So I check my column quality and then I am able to see all the information in my column by column. So let me check for my product data to valid, 100%, region 100% valid, 100% valid, sales data 100% valid. There are some data that you see 56% valid, empty 26%. Let me see if I have any of such here. So the data I'm working with, they are actually 100. Okay, so if you look at this, my column 14, column 15, column 16, you can see not valid is 0% compared to my total revenue. I have valid 100%, and then empty 100%. So they said I have 5 more minutes, and I still have a lot to do. Jesus. Okay, so that is all we like transforming your data. Column quality is one I mostly use all the time, but also another beautiful one, column distribution. It tells you, what with distinct value you have, what is distinct, what is not distinct, what is unique. It also gives like a breakdown of your product, of your data. But right now, it's just showing you in a chart form, and you also have your column profile. This also gives you a more insight into your table, right? But for me, most of the time, the column quality is all I need, because I'm just trying to make sure that whatever I'm loading into Power BI is accurate. Okay, so now let me bring in my second data and then show you the other thing I want to show you with append. So I'm bringing in Power BI 2 into this my Power Query, and I'm selecting these two data. So I have sales data 1, sales data 2. And the reason why I have sales data 1, sales data 2 loaded is because Excel has a limit of 1 million rows, right? So the data that can be contained in a particular Excel sheet is 1 million rows. But this my company now, the information we have here is about 2 million rows, meaning the information is spilling into another Excel sheet. That's why I have sales data 1, sales data 2. Sales data 2 is continuation of sales data 1. So now how can I put these two data together in such a way that they become a whole one? In Power Query, there is no limit to say, oh, your data has to be 1 million rows. But in Excel, there is that limit. So in Power Query, what I'll do is I will merge these two data together so that I can work on them as one data, instead of having sales data 1, sales data 2. I'll work on them as just one data. So I'll click on my merge queries. No, append queries. When I click on append, I'll click on append as new. Right? I want to append them as a new. So it's asking me what's my first table. So you can have 3 or more tables. In case it's more than 2, maybe split it into the 3rd sheet, 4th sheet, you can click on 3 or more tables. But right now it's just 2, so I'll just click on 2. It's asking me my first table is sales data 1. My second table is what? Sales data 2. And once I click on OK, you can see it has appended it for me. It's calling it append 1. It has appended my sales data 1, sales data 2 into append 1. So I can just come to this name and rename it and call it combined, or call it sales data consolidated. So it has consolidated my sales data 1 and sales data 2, right? I said I was going to show you some things, but time will not permit. So I hope that, and also we have something called merge queries. Let me see if I can quickly merge a data very quickly here. So here I have my, let me go to this sales data here. Let me see, just a minute. I want to merge a query for you to see. So I have my delivery region index here, right? If I look at my region table, I can see all my region index here. And if I go to my customer order, I can see my delivery region index, but I don't have the region name. See, here it's not telling me whether this particular order is from Ibadan, or is from Canada, or is from Lagos. I want to see the city where this order is coming from, not just numbers, right? So I can go to this, my sales order, then go to merge query. Let me merge it as new, or I can merge it on this particular query. So I'm merging on this particular query. It's telling me, so this is what I want. This is my first table. What do I want to merge? I want to merge my region table with it. So what is the unique identifier? So what is the common value? Just the way we do highest common factor in primary school, where you have 2 divided by 3 plus 1 divided by 3, and then you draw the line and they tell you what is the common factor, 3. Then you do 3 times 3, and then you do all of those things. So what is common between this table and this table is the index. So the index here is the same as this, my region, delivery region index. And once I click on OK, automatically you can see it has merged my region table here for me. And I can just click on this expand icon here. Once I expand it, once I click on OK, all the information I have in my region table is now here. like everything. You can see region table dot index, region table plus the sub, region table plus full address. If I go to my region table, you can see the 3 columns I have here, and now in my sales order table. So that is how you merge. And using my sales data consolidated, that is how you append. So these are very, very important in data in Power Query. So I'll be wrapping up right now. So I've done a lot of transformation, So I have here, this my sales data 1 and 2 are already in my sales data consolidated. So I want to now load to Power Query. I don't have to load this sales data 1 and 2 again. So I will just right click and say I'll disable the enload. I'll say don't load this data for me when I'm loading to Power Query. Just load the sales data consolidated. And then I can now click on close and apply. Once I'm closing and applying, automatically you see it is loading my data into Power Query. So I hope now you understand the reason why Power Query is called an ETL, meaning it goes through an operation of extract, transform, and load. With this short time, Power Query is really it's actually a lot to learn, how to write the hem query. There's a lot to learn. If you can use Power Query, you can actually start calling yourself a Power BI developer, because there's a lot you can do. The data being clean is actually very fundamental to anything you're about to do. The most important part of Power BI is not the pie chart, the bar chart, the column chart, the card. Is actually the cleaning of the data and your data modeling. If you can clean your data well, if you are loading in the right data into Power BI, and if you are able to create your models properly, then you are good to go with whatever thing that you are unstoppable when it comes to creating your visualizations and making decisions. So now my data I've loaded into Power BI, and then I can see all of my information loaded into Power BI. I hope you understand why Power BI is an ETL tool. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sylvia. I'm sure my time is up now. Thank you. So sorry for using some extra, 2 minutes or so. Thank you.
Nothing. Okay.
Any question? Is there any question? Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, it's the questions and answers session. So you can drop your question in the chat box, or you can raise your hand if you want to ask. I'm sure we all enjoyed our session. I mean, I was pinned on my seat and I was just listening. Everything was just coming. So we can pop in our questions now. I have a question. Okay, you can go on. You can drop your question, please. Okay, Selena said she enjoyed the session. Nice lecture. Okay, the question here says, how long will it take to master Power Query?
How long? It depends on you. Like I said, you have to actually be deliberate about learning it. You understand? And then you have to do a lot of projects, encounter a lot of situations. So the more you work on projects, the more your knowledge of transforming data grows. So I cannot tell you, okay, you can master it in 3 months, you can master it in 2 months. It's actually going to take time, but at least in 3 months, if you have been consistently working on projects, you will have encountered different scenarios, different transformation need by different projects, and then your knowledge of Power Query would have, grown, would actually improve with time. Who is there?
I've muted
There's
the person.
violence, please.
Okay, there's another question in the chat box. He said, do I need to learn how to code to be able to do a proper ETL?
Okay, when it comes to using Power Query as an ETL tool, I just showed you how to, like I said, ETL is extract, transform, and load. I just showed you how to extract, transform, and load a data. I don't think I've written any query so far. So all I was just doing was clicking, drag and drop, just selecting, mostly clicking. So I have not written any maybe some JavaScript code or do some syntax or anything magnanimous, But then there is something called mQuery in Power Query that if you want to explore the coding side of Power Query, then you can venture into that. But for a beginner, you don't have to bother yourself about maybe learning the M queries or learning the T-SQL or all of those things, You can just like focus more on the drag and drop, just what I've showed you extra, like Power Query is actually very explanatory. You can see all of the things there, click on what you need, and then do your transformation and then load without writing any query. But like I said, the more you work on projects, the more you understand the different ways of transforming data, cleaning data. Some will require you maybe to know a bit of those query knowledge, while some will be like you don't actually need it at all. So the more you work on projects, the more you learn how to transform different kind of data. You're able to like work on different scenarios.
Okay. He said, thank you so much. He enjoyed your session. Actually, I did too.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for having me.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hi.
Yeah. Please, I want to ask a question. You said something about removing things that you don't need in your data when you are loading them.
Yeah.
So I want to ask, is there a way how do you know what to determine the things you need and what you don't need?
All right, very brilliant. Thank you very much for that question. So the thing is, to be a data analyst, you need to understand business logic. When I mean business logic, you need to understand the problem the business is trying to solve. For example, if you are trying to solve maybe a problem around sales, or let me say logistics. Do you understand? You're trying to solve maybe they're trying to like create a logistic pattern for the organization, and then you are getting information about the number of people that the receptionists have registered, or maybe not number of guests that visit the organization. Do you need that data from the receptionist platform? Like I said, sometimes if your data is an SQL, maybe your organization is structured, you have a data engineer. Once you ask for data, these people are, let me not say very wicked. They will just load you with everything. Bam. Things you need, things you don't need, information about HR, like everything. You have to now be the one to be like, I am working on a logistic business logic. So whatever it is I am loading into Power BI have to be centered about logistics. It doesn't have, when I see things about HR that have been given to me, I will just pick what I need and then ignore the rest. But then as the business grows, if there is a need to now maybe go into all of those things, they are still in your Power Query, right? You can go back there and then, bring them back. But in order to ensure the performance of your Power BI, like I said, when I started my career, I was just loading data and then I want to refresh my data and I'll go for lunch, come back. The thing is still refreshing. And you don't want to be in a meeting whereby they're like, okay, show us what you've done, and your report is refreshing for 1 hour. They just tell them that you don't know what you're doing as a data analyst. Right? So just put in whatever it is you're trying to solve, whatever problem you're trying to solve at that moment. That is what you should load into Power BI. As time goes on, if you need other information that you had not loaded, you can go back to Power Query and then load them at that time. But for the moment, what you need, the problem you're trying to solve, is what you should focus on. I hope I've been able to answer your question.
Yes, thank you very much. But before I go, please, one more question, please. Is it possible to replace a number value into a text value in Power Query?
Yes, it is possible.
Okay, I don't know, but you didn't do that. There
Yeah.
was a dark,
So
I can't
no, yeah.
talk.
So the column I was working with, if you know, the data type already was number. Yeah, so me
Okay.
bringing the test, it was highlighting me that whatever I need to change has to be a number. But if the admin will permit me, I can show you. Like you can replace number with text with number, whichever way you want to, like replace it. It depends on you.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thanks.
But then you have to make sure that whatever you are replacing is in line with what the business need. You are not just replacing for replacing sake. Do you understand?
All right. I do. I understand.
Okay, I guess no more question for today. Thank you, Remide, for the session.
Thank
I
you.
I personally enjoyed the session, and I'm sure everyone has enjoyed the session. So, guys, let's thank Remide for today's session, please. Let's drop the
Thank
comment in
you.
the chat box.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Mr. Dewale. I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much, Hafiz. Thank you so much to all the organization. And to Sylvia, thank you so much for moderating this event. Thank you. I am so grateful to everyone in attendance. Thank you for taking time to listen to me.
Thank you, and you're welcome. Eremide. Next week's session will be demystifying data modeling, and just like our speaker for today said, these are the fundamentals of your data analytics journey. We did Power Query today. We are doing data modeling next week. So make sure you are glued. Make sure you come again next week, and please, please, and please don't just stop here today. Get a data set, do a lot of practice on Power Query. You don't get to use all the features on Power Query in one data set. It's constant practice. If you practice today, practice tomorrow and next, you get to see a lot of things you can do with Power Query. And we are not leaving you. We are still here with you. You can join our WhatsApp group, join our Telegram group, and subscribe. The recording for today's session will be uploaded to the YouTube channel. So you can subscribe to our YouTube channel to watch the recording. Also, in the WhatsApp group, you can anything you are working on, you can build your project and send there. We have our organizers in the WhatsApp group so that they can give you reviews. It's when you receive a review, you improve. So you need all that in your data journey. I remain your humble moderator, Sylvia, and I hope I get to meet you again next week, this same time next week, for this session. You can follow the speaker for today. You can follow Iremide. She has dropped her LinkedIn user. So make sure to follow her. If you have more questions, you can ask her. She's there for you.
You got me wanting. Another banger, baby, calm down, calm down. Yo, this your body, it puts in my heart for lockdown, oh lockdown. Yo, you sweet life, phantom, phantom. If I tell you say I love you, you know they for me, young girl, oh young girl. No, tell me no, 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 oh, 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 oh. Baby, gon' give me your lo, 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 oh, 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 oh. You got me like whoa, 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 whoa. Shawty gon' give me your lo 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 whoa, 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 whoa. I see this fine girl from my party, she wear yellow. Every other girl they do too much, but this girl mellow. Now in my divine situation, I go use they tell I'm mellow. Finally, I find way to talk to the girl, but she ain't no one follow. Who you gonna phone for one? When you know I come for one, then I start to feel a bum bum one. But she dey give me small small one. I know, say she's a bit pass it down one one. But she feeling insecure, cause her friends could they come my light ring go on. Could they come my light ring go on.
Yeah, I know we look shy, but for you I get down low. And my hips make you cry when I'm moving around you. Do it once, do it twice. Hop push back, you hold me tight. Get a can calm down, calm down. Dance with me and take the lead now, lead now. Got you so high that you can't calm down, calm down. Don't you ask, you know you're allowed, allowed. When it's you, I can't say no. Oh, 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 oh. Baby, give me oh, 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 oh. You got me like oh, 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 oh. Shawty gon' give me a lo, 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 oh, 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 oh.
As I reach my house, I see me got a small wall, me got a small wall. As me I wake up, now she did my mind don't walk, my mind don't walk. Then one day two, one of you folk go was, now so me I call now, say me willing go walk, me willing go walk.
Got my hand on your heart now, I can feel it race. If I leave, then you say you can never love again. Wanna give you it all, but can't promise that I'll stay. And that's the risk you take.
Baby, calm down, calm down. Yo, this your body, it puts in my heart for lockdown, oh lockdown. Yo, you sweet life, phantom, phantom. If I tell you say I love you, you know they for me, young girl, oh young girl. No, tell me no, 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 oh, 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 oh.
Ja people with the yarn better to real big.
For Italian league, Osimhen go.
Sabi girl no they too like talk. Animals they in human form. Body man nobody like walk, but you must hustle if you want job. You no finish they won't fight us. If them they run them no fit catch up. I know they form say I too righteous. No con they form say you too like us. You no get the time for the hate and the bad energy. Got my mind on my money. Make you dance like broccoli. Steady green like broccoli. Steady on my grind, oh yeah, what they want telling me. Could deny my fantasy. They want to check if my tap in.